Yo, what if I told you everything you thought you knew about King Von's murder just got turned on its head? What if I told you there's a confession tape? Yeah, you heard me. A leaked audio confession that's got the entire rap game shaking right now. Because allegedly Lil Tim, the man accused of pulling that fatal trigger outside that Atlanta hookah lounge in 2020, just said he ain't do it of his own free will. They made me do it. That's the quote. And now fans, bloggers, even the streets are asking, who is they? This ain't no clickbait. The streets been whispering for years, but this new leak just cracked the door wide open. The confession, allegedly recorded during a phone call from jail, has Lil Tim sounding shook. No bravado, no gangsta talk, just fear in his voice. And the worst part, he claims he was set up. Folks are speculating everything from industry plots to internal beefs within NBA and OTF circles. Some fans think it's a strategic move. Others, they believe it's the beginning of a massive unraveling, one that could expose some of the biggest names in hip-hop. And Von's fans, they're livid, some saying Lil Tim's playing the victim. Others believe it finally explains the strange behavior from certain rappers after Von's death. Meanwhile, Von's family allegedly responded in a now-deleted post that read, "We knew, God don't sleep. So buckle up, cuz we're about to take a deep dive into one of the most shocking plot twists in modern hip-hop history. This is bigger than beef. This is betrayal, confession, and conspiracy all in one. Keep watching, cuz what you're about to hear might just change everything you thought you knew about King Von's murder." Aight, so let's set the stage, because before we get into this wild confession tape that got the internet in a full-blown frenzy, we gotta rewind to the night of November 6, 2020, the night that would forever change the course of rap history. Outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta, two camps collided. King Von, fresh off the release of Welcome to O Block, was riding high, feelin' invincible. On the other side, Quando Rondo and his crew, including Lil Tim. It was supposed to be a regular night out until fists started flying. Surveillance footage caught the chaos, Von punchin' on Quando, and within seconds, shots rang out. Von hit, chaos erupts, Von's boys scramble. And in the middle of it all, Lil Tim was arrested, accused of pulling the trigger. Now here's the thing, Tim always claimed self-defense. His team said Von came at them first, that it was do or die, and legally, it seemed to be holding up. Tim even got out on bond, but ever since then, there's been a cloud hanging over that night. People started asking questions that never got real answers. Why did Von run up on Quando that night when he had security? Why were there no real repercussions in the streets after a beloved figure like Von got gunned down? But now, this leaked confession tape is blowing the lid off everything. Allegedly recorded during a jail phone call, before Lil Tim even got out on bond, the tape starts with Tim talking real low. Voice shaky, real different from the confident image he portrays online. In the audio, he says something like, "It wasn't supposed to go down like that, bruh. I ain't even wanna do nothing. They told me if he swings, we drop him, no questions. They said we'd be taken care of. Let that sink in. They told me." Now who is they? Fans immediately started connecting dots. Some pointing fingers at Quando Rondo's camp, saying maybe they pressured Tim into protecting Quando at all costs. Others, they looking way deeper, claiming there was industry pressure, even record label influence to silence Von. Crazy? Not if you've been paying attention. Let's get real, Von was on a meteoric rise. He had the charisma, the storytelling, the cosigns, the authenticity. O Block royalty. His album dropped just a week before his death. And the buzz, crazy. Folks were calling him the next big thing out of Chicago, maybe even bigger than Dirk in terms of raw street appeal. But Von was loud about his enemies. He named names. He tweeted subliminals. He didn't move like someone playing the game safe. That rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, especially folks with money to protect. So when Tim says they made me do it, some fans think that goes way beyond the streets. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about the reaction first. When that confession tape first leaked, and trust, we gon' play the audio later in this video, the reaction was instant. Twitter lit up. Von's sister Kayla B posted a now-deleted story that said, "We been new, ain't no secrets in the spirit world, wait on it." Cryptic, maybe, but it was enough to send fans into a spiral. Then you had Lil Durk, who posted a photo with Von the same day the tape started circulating, captioned, "I see it all now, chess, not checkers." Another layer of mystery. Some people said Dirk was trying to say he always knew this wasn't a regular beef. Others said he's hinting that he's playing the long game and payback is coming. Meanwhile, Quando Rondo, dead silent, not a word. No denials, no posts, no free Tim, just radio silence, which for someone who's always been vocal about defending himself seems sus. And Tim, well, according to sources, the tape is from months ago, but it was buried. Until someone from inside the system leaked it. Rumors are swirling that a former associate of Quando's, someone who fell out with the crew, released it on purpose to clear their conscience. And here's the part that's even more wild. Allegedly, there's a second part of the tape. And in that one, Tim goes even further, naming names. One source claims he said, "Man, they had me thinking if I ain't do it, I was done for. They said Vaughn was a green light anyway, that it was above me. Above HIM. Now you got conspiracy theorists going crazy talking about music execs, Illuminati, sacrifice talk. You know how the internet do. But even folks who usually stay grounded are saying, yo, something don't add up. Let's not forget, right after Vaughn's death, Quando Rondo was protected like Fort Knox. No retaliation, no shootouts. He even did shows under heavy security. And every time someone asked Vaughn's people why there was no get back, they just said, we movin' smart. Maybe they already knew the bigger picture. Back to the tape. The audio is low, but you can hear emotion in Tim's voice. Dude sounds like he's regretting everything. He says something like, I ain't even think Vaughn had heat on him. I thought it'd be over quick. I ain't know it'd be all this. The tape ends with what sounds like a guard interrupting the call. But the damage is done. The leak is out. The narrative is shifted. And now Tim's whole defense is looking shady. If this tape is real and some forensic audio folks say it passes initial tests, then the self-defense story crumbles. Because if he was pressured into doing it, if he felt like he had to, that's not the same as reacting to an imminent threat. That's being a pawn. And if Tim was a pawn, then who was playing chess? Stay tuned because we just scratching the surface. We dig into Vaughn's last conversations, Quando's eerie silence, and the secret meeting that allegedly happened just 2 days before Vaughn's death. Oh yeah, it gets deep. And if you think this was just a random street beef, you might want to think again, because in this game, nothing is what it seems. Alright, y'all still with me? Because if you thought that confession tape was crazy is where things really start to unravel. This ain't just about street beef anymore. Nah, this goes deeper than loyalty, deeper than pride, deeper than rap. We're talking industry moves, silence bought with money, and a betrayal so cold, it makes the backdoor look like child's play. So let's jump into the next chapter, King Von's final days. See, Von wasn't just a rapper, he was a soldier turned superstar. And in those last 48 hours before his death, sources close to the OTF camp say Von was moving strange. Not scared, Von was never scared, but watchful, like he knew something was up. One of Von's homies, who spoke anonymously in a Reddit AMA that got deleted real quick, said Von had a meeting 2 days before he died. Big names, labels, folks he ain't never really rocked with before. He told us he had to handle business. Came back quiet, didn't even crack jokes. That's when I knew ST was weird. Now here's where things get wild. Rumors say that meeting was with a major label, one that Von wasn't signed to, one that had major stakes in the artists he wasn't getting along with. People are speculating Von was offered a deal, not to sign, but to stand down. To chill with the disses, to bury the beef with Quando, to stop exposing people. Allegedly, Von refused, and that might have sealed his fate. Now fast forward to the night of the incident. Von pulls up with his crew. Club vibes, celebratin', but out of nowhere a car rolls by Quando Rondo's crew. No prior warning, no diss tweets that night, just pure coincidence, or so they say. But here's where the timing don't sit right with fans. See, how did Quando's crew know Von was gonna be there, that specific club, that late, with minimal security? Well, word on the street is someone tipped them off. And here's the twist, it might have been one of Von's own. Yeah, I said it. Backdoor betrayal. An insider close to Atlanta promoters leaked a text thread that allegedly shows a member of Von's circle texting a known affiliate of Quando, saying, he headed to Monaco. Light on security. Just fam tonight? Now if that's legit, that's not just a leak, that's a setup. And in the world Von came from, that's the ultimate sin. Now let's rewind back to that leaked Lil Tim confession, when he says, they told me if he swings, we drop him, no questions. Fans now believe that's linked to this tip-off, that everything that happened that night, Von running up on Quando, the scuffle, the shot, was orchestrated. Like a play in a chess match, and when the dust settled, Von was gone. But guess what? That wasn't even the first time someone tried to warn him. Flashback to October 2020, just weeks before his death, Von posted on IG Live. It be your own people you gotta watch, on God, I know I be too loyal, that's gone get me smoked. Now that clip has resurfaced and fans are saying he might have felt something coming, like he knew the snakes were in his grass. But he ain't cut them off in time, and speaking of snakes, Quando Rondo's behavior after the shooting got people talking too. He went quiet for a minute, but when he popped back out, it was straight deflection. He dropped End of Story, that infamous diss track where he doubled down on the shooting, calling it self-defense. But if you listen close, there's a bar that hits different now. Somebody tell Von's mama something, I ain't got it to do with nothing. Cap, because with this new confession out, folks are saying Quando might have had everything to do with it, but kept his hands clean. Let Tim take the fall. Let the label handle the lawyers. Let the narrative be self-defense. And that brings us to the industry angle. A prominent YouTube blogger named Cassidy T dropped a deep dive video right after the tape leaked, connecting dots between Quando's label, Von's public enemies, and a sudden influx of hush money flowing to security teams and legal protection services in Georgia. She claims that certain security footage from inside Monaco Lounge was never released. The club's owner was allegedly paid off to stay silent. The DA in Atlanta received donations from a powerful music executive tied to Quando's side. Sound crazy? It's not when you consider how many people had something to lose if Von stayed on the warpath. He was outspoken, he was fearless, and he was naming names on records, on social media, even in interviews. Nobody was safe, so maybe the powers that be decided it was time to silence him. Now let's talk about Von's family, because when the confession tape dropped, emotions ran high. Kayla B., his sister, tweeted, "Y'all ain't hear nothing yet, let the rest leak. My brother was never scared, but he was betrayed." The tweet was deleted within hours, but the internet already had screenshots. Von's mom reportedly had a private meeting with her legal team the day the leak hit, and sources say she's pushing for a full federal investigation. She believes the truth's been buried, and now that there's a tape, it's time to dig it back up. Even Von's kids' mothers are chiming in. One posted a story saying, "I hope they open that case again. Our kids deserve the truth. And the fans, they want blood." Hashtags like number justice for Von, number free Timnot, and number who made Tim do it were trending within hours. People are demanding more than just clout. They want arrests. They want the DA to reopen the case. They want names named and karma served. Meanwhile, Lil Tim's silence since the tape leaked has been deafening. Some believe he's been moved to a new facility for his own safety. Others claim he's been silenced by lawyers, by the label, maybe even by the same people who made him do it. And then there's Lil Durk. Durk's been moving chessboard style since Von passed. Subtle posts, symbolic gestures, quiet donations to Von's family. But now, some fans are saying he's been waiting for the real truth to come out. That he knew Von's death wasn't just about a scuffle. That Durk's been biding his time for a reason. One thing's for sure, this confession tape changed the entire landscape. It cracked the foundation of the official story and made way for all the buried truths, all the fake alliances, all the betrayals to come crawling into the light. And we ain't even gotten to the of the tape yet. Yeah. There's allegedly another 7 minutes of audio that hasn't been released yet, and insiders say that's where names get dropped, like real names, not no cryptic stuff, full-on confessions. So what's next? Is the industry about to crumble under its own secrets? Will the case get reopened? Will Tim fold completely and testify, and will Von finally get the justice he deserves? Yo, y'all thought we was done? Nah, we just getting into the darkest part of this whole twisted saga. The confession tape was just the beginning. Cause now, we diving into record label secrets, witnesses mysteriously vanishing, and a cryptic Instagram post from Quando Rondo that fans say is screaming guilt without saying a word. Let's get into it. So boom, the label clause. Now this part been flying under the radar, but some insider industry paperwork started floating around the dark web last week, allegedly tied to Quando Rondo's original contract. In that paperwork, a clause about non-interference in security-related incidents involving artist representatives. Now what that mean in plain English? It means if someone in Quando's camp, say Lil Tim, got involved in a violent incident while protecting the artist, the label would handle legal protection and crisis management, but only if that incident was deemed preemptive protection. Not self-defense, not accident, preemptive. Fans are saying this clause proves that the label knew some smoke was coming, that they anticipated something going down and prepared for it. And remember Lil Tim's words on that leaked tape. They told me if he swings, we drop him, no questions. That aligns too perfectly with this clause, like they was planning for a scenario where Von did anything aggressive and they could use that as a legal green light. And now you got folks asking, was Lil Tim the fall guy from the start? A pawn, not just in the streets, but in the industry chessboard. Let's talk about that chessboard for a second, because this goes even deeper than Quando and Von. Multiple sources online, some anonymous insiders, some verified music journalists, have hinted that Von was being blackballed quietly right before his death. Not by fans, not by rappers, but by high-level execs who were allegedly tired of his unpredictability. See, Von wasn't just another artist. He didn't play the game, he didn't do friendly press, he didn't do fake friendships. He was raw, and that rawness, scary for labels, dangerous even. Especially when you got real-life street beef that could turn violent and your artist is refusing to be silenced. Von's last public interview, y'all remember that radio spot with the infamous "I ain't squashin' nothing" quote. It resurfaced after the tape leaked. Fans now rewatching that interview say he looked agitated, like he was holding something back. A secret. Now here's where it gets eerie. Allegedly, one of Von's close associates, a man named Rico S., was preparing to do an exclusive interview with a major YouTube channel where he planned to expose the real reason Von was set up. Guess what? Rico S. is dead, found in his car on the west side of Chicago just 5 days before the confession tape leaked. Gunshot wound to the head. no witnesses, no suspects. Case ruled a homicide. The report got buried in local crime news until fans connected the dots. That interview never happened, and according to the YouTube channel, he canceled 24 hours before filming, citing pressure from people bigger than the streets. Let that marinate. Now fast forward to this week, Quando Rondo posts a black and white picture of himself looking down at the ground, face half in shadow. Caption, "It's too late to pray for me." No explanation, no promo, just that. And fans lost it. Theories went into overdrive. Is it guilt? Is it fear? Or is it a subtle message to whoever's really behind this mess, that he's trapped, that he played his part and now he's being discarded? Because don't forget, Quando's career flatlined after Von's death. He couldn't perform, he was banned from venues. Sponsors backed out, fans turned on him, and even though he was never charged, he's lived under the shadow of that night ever since. And now, it's like he's waving a white flag, but here's the craziest part of all this. Pay attention. Sources say there's a second confession, not from Lil Tim, from a club employee, someone working the door at Monaco Lounge the night of the shooting. This anonymous staff member allegedly told a blogger, who goes by Nay the Truth, that the club received a private security deposit from an unmarked account a full day before the shooting. That deposit came with specific instructions on crowd control, camera positioning, and which doors were to remain unlocked. In other words, somebody wanted that night to go exactly how it went. The staffer said they were told. VIP guests are to move freely. If a conflict breaks out, do not interfere. That ain't regular club policy, that's a setup. And now fans think that not only was Von lured there, but the entire situation was prepped to make sure no one stopped the violence. And with the club cameras malfunctioning after the incident, key footage was lost forever. Convenient, right? Let's tie it back to Lil Tim's confession again. If he says, "I ain't wanna do it, they said we'd be taken care of," and the label's clause says they'd protect any violent act done preemptively, and now we know the club may have been paid off to stand down, that paints a whole different picture. It wasn't a fight, it wasn't random, it was a planned takedown. But why? That's the question everybody is asking, and the answers ain't simple. Some say it was about money. Von was building his own empire, about to sign artists under his own label. Rumor was he was planning to pull out of his major deal and go independent by 2021. That move would have cost certain people millions. Others say it was about fear, that Von's loudmouth, his detailed lyrics, and his refusal to play industry politics made him a liability. And then there's those who believe it's personal, a betrayal from inside O Block, someone envious, someone who helped orchestrate that night knowing Von trusted them, because real talk, only someone inside the camp could have known Von's moves that night, could have told the ops what door he'd use, what time he'd pull up, what car he was in, and now that Lil Tim's tape is out there and he's basically saying, "I ain't choose this," the last domino is about to fall. Fans want the second half of the confession. The one where names are supposedly dropped. Word is, it's in the hands of Von's legal team and they're deciding whether to release it to the public or use it to reopen the case officially. If that happens, this becomes way bigger than rap. We talkin' federal investigations, grand juries, RICO charges, industry shakeups. Because if it comes out that rappers are being targeted for elimination under the guise of beef and major labels are protecting the hitters, that's an exposé the world ain't ready for, and still, through all this, the fans keep Von's name alive. Murals, hashtags, justice campaigns, because for them, King Von wasn't just a rapper, he was a voice, a storyteller. A symbol of raw, unfiltered truth. And now, his truth is fighting its way to the surface, through leaks, confessions, and cries from the grave. The final segment, we're diving into the mysterious silence from Chicago OGS, the rumored federal agents watching Quando, and the final moments from Von's phone that never made it to the cloud. Because believe this, the real story ain't over, and when that second tape drops, the entire culture might shake. Alright y'all, welcome to the final chapter of this mind-blowing saga. If you've been riding with us through, you already know this is deeper than street beef, deeper than clout, deeper than rap. This is a story about betrayal, cover-ups, industry chess moves, and now potential federal involvement. And trust me, the final pieces of this puzzle, they're even wilder than we imagined. So let's start here, the silence from the OGS. Now y'all know how Chicago operates. When a real one falls, especially someone like King Von, who is not just respected but feared, the streets usually respond. Fast, but after Von's death, nothing. No citywide war, no headlines of retaliation, just silence. And at first, fans thought maybe Dirk told everyone to chill, move in silence, stay smart. But now, people are thinking it wasn't about strategy, it was about shock, about confusion. Because the streets didn't see this coming either, even the OGs were blindsided. A known GD figure out of Chicago, who goes by OG Meech, went live a few days after the confession tape leaked and dropped this. Vaughn had too many snakes around him, the ops ain't even have to move. That boy got lined by his own people. We ain't go to war 'cause we ain't know who the enemy was yet. Boom, right there, that's it. They didn't retaliate because they didn't know who to hit. The streets was confused, hurt, torn between pointing the finger at Quando's camp or looking inward. And now, with Lil Tim's shaky confession echoing across every platform, the suspicion inside Vaughn's own circle is boiling over. Several Loki pages on Instagram, ones followed by Vaughn's former crew, have started posting cryptic messages like, "The op ain't always wear a chain. You ever shake a hand that set you up, Vaughn ain't die from beef. He died from betrayal." And all this energy is feeding one thing, pressure. Pressure to release Vaughn's final phone contents. Let's talk about that. King Von's personal phone, recovered by investigators the night he died, was said to be damaged in the struggle. That was the official explanation for why nothing from his last hours was ever seen by the public. No final tweets, no IG lives, no texts. But recently, that story got exposed as cap. A digital forensics investigator who used to work with the Atlanta Police Department spilled tea on Reddit before their account mysteriously got suspended. In their post, they claimed Vaughn's phone was fully functional, backed up 3 hours before his death, and had over 17 voice notes and 2 videos recorded the same night. So where are they? Allegedly, the files were seized by authorities and sealed as part of an ongoing investigation. An investigation that no one ever heard of until now. And here's where the Fed rumors start. People close to Vaughn's family say that ever since the leak of the Lil Tim confession tape, strange things been happening. 2 of Vaughn's friends were pulled into quiet questioning by law enforcement. One of them posted to his story, "They watching everything, this ain't about rap no more." Then, in a bizarre twist, Quando Rondo was reportedly pulled over last week in Georgia by undercover vehicles, detained for routine questioning, and then released without charges. No arrest, no explanation, just pulled aside and let go. This info didn't even hit the blogs until someone leaked the police scanner audio, and you can clearly hear officers saying, "Subject connected to 2020 incident. Possible Fed involvement. Proceed with discretion." Now hold up. If the feds are circling this case 2 years later, you know what that means. It means something bigger is being built. And if that second part of the confession tape comes out, it might be the spark that turns this into a full-blown federal takedown. So what's on that second tape? Sources are saying the final part of Lil Tim's confession includes NAMES. No more they, real people, a well-known Atlanta promoter, a bodyguard from another rapper's crew, and brace yourselves, a label exec's assistant. Now, we can't confirm that yet, but the whispers are getting louder. Folks who never spoke before are suddenly saying, yeah, Vaughn was about to expose something big. Cassidy T, the YouTuber who's been deep in this case, says she received an anonymous email with timestamps of the second tape. She's working to verify the audio before going public, but based on what she said, that second tape may include a deal being offered to Tim before the night even happened. A deal, as in, take the shot, we'll cover the rest. And remember, Lil Tim was a nobody before this, a street dude, not an artist. Why would a label even care about protecting him, unless he was part of a bigger plan? And that brings us to the final twist. Because just yesterday, someone posted a surveillance screenshot from an alleged backup security cam at Monaco Lounge. It shows what appears to be a person with a hoodie and mask standing near the side entrance, holding something in their hand just minutes before the shooting. Fans are claiming this might be the real tip-off man, the one who confirmed Vaughn had arrived. The image was quickly taken down, but not before it spread like wildfire. People are comparing it with past photos of Vaughn's own security detail, and it's looking a little too familiar. Now, we ain't saying names, not yet, but if what people are suggesting is true, that the person standing there was connected to Vaughn, that's not just betrayal, that's an inside execution. And now, fans are begging for answers, demanding justice, demanding the second tape be released to the public, tagging the DA's office. Blowing up Dirk's page, asking what really happened to Vaughn. And that's the question that still haunts this case, because Vaughn was more than an artist. He was a father, a brother, a leader, and most of all, a man trying to escape the trauma of the life he was born into. He was building something that scared a lot of people who make money off chaos. And when you threaten power, sometimes they take you out quietly. So where do we go from here? The calls for justice are growing louder. The fans are mobilizing, the blogs are exposing, and Vaughn's own family, they ain't stopping until the world hears the whole story. Because if that second tape drops and it says what insiders claim it does, there's no hiding left. The industry, the streets, the labels, everybody gonna have to answer. King Von's death might have looked like a fight gone wrong, but now it's looking more like a calculated hit, and the clock is ticking. Stay locked in, because next up we got the final wrap-up of this saga, summarizing what we know, what's still hiding in the shadows, and what YOU, the fans, can do to help demand the truth. Don't go nowhere. The storm ain't over yet. So there you have it, y'all. A leaked confession tape, a second tape rumored to name names, mysterious deaths, industry cover-ups, betrayal from within Vaughn's own circle, and now, federal eyes watching it all unfold. What started as a late-night altercation outside a hookah lounge has now cracked open into something way bigger, something darker, something deliberate. We may never look at Vaughn's death the same again, but the biggest question still stands. Who made Lil Tim do it? Was it Quando's team, a scared label exec, somebody inside O'Block, or is it all tied into a deeper web of silence and money that we ain't even scratched yet? The second half of that confession, still sealed. Vaughn's phone footage, still hidden, witnesses, missing, dead, or silent, so now it's up to you, the fans, the people who loved Vaughn, the ones who still blast Took Her to the O and crazy story like he's still here. Because if y'all stay loud, keep asking questions, keep posting, keep tagging the DAs, the blogs, the lawyers, the journalists, this story won't disappear. Drop a comment right now. Do you think Lil Tim was just a pawn? Was Vaughn set up by his own people? And who do you think is really behind the silence? Smash that like button if you believe Vaughn still deserves justice. Share this video if you ain't scared to speak the truth. And hit that subscribe, cause we gone. Keep digging, keep exposing, and keep this story alive until the whole truth is out. This ain't just hip-hop drama. This is real life. R.I.P. King Vaughn. Long live the voice of the trenches. Stay tuned, stay woke, and stay dangerous.